Hi, and welcome to this new video about LangChain, where I'm going to show you how to use Langsmith to better diagnose what is happening under the hood of your agent. Langsmith is a website that actually helps you to troubleshoot and to diagnose your LangChain program. And basically, you just need to go immediately to smith.langchain.com and enroll in the beta because it will need some time before you get approved. And once you get approved, you can land into this site and you just need to generate one API key, because with that API key, you can configure LangChain to send telemetric diagnostic data to that site. And I will show you how cool it is and how you can use to troubleshoot what's going on. Everything is driven by environment variables. So in this situation, I'm just using, I'm just setting an operating system environment called LangChain project. And that's helped me to have in LangChain interface, in the Langsmith interface, subdivision between projects, so I can have all the traces grouped into a logical project. So that's the information I'm putting directly into the file, and the key is indeed contained in the .env file. So these are the environment variable you need to put in your .env file. Is the LangChain tracing v2, that should be true because it's the new way of tracing. The LangChain endpoint, that is the classic API, does meet the langchain.com, and your LangChain API key that you can generate from the site. And as you can see, I have dumped my first 6 characters of the keys, ls __, all the Langsmith key start with LH and a double underscore to immediately identify those API key. And that's everything you need to set up for everything to work. From the site, when you enter in a project, you can look at all the code that get traced. And as an example, I expand this code here. It is an agent executor, so it is a trace based on an execution of an agent. As you can see, you have a tree view where you can see all the steps that the agent does in the React with the React framework for fulfilling the user question. Clicking on the trace, it opens the detail on the right. As you can see, you still have a tree view representing all the interaction with large language model. You can see the total token. We used 6,000 token, and the time of execution. And you see that it correctly tells you that this is an interaction of the zero-shot React description. So you can better troubleshoot what's going on. If you look at the first step, it's the Azure Chat OpenAI. It is simply telling you that it is using the Azure OpenAI to interact with the large language model used to configure that agent, and you have the prompt. And as you can see, the prompt is just a textual prompt in which it starts with answer the following question as best as you can, and then there is a simple list of the plugin you are using. So extract audio, transcript timeline, summarize timeline. So it is a plain description of the tool you've configured in that agent. Then explicit instruction follow. This is a typical prompt you can use for React framework, but you don't need to understand it. It's just chosen by the LangChain. But as you can see, it simply gave you the list of plugin, the list of tool, and instruction on how to proceed. This form of interaction is really basic and it's weak, especially because the large language model needs to output everything in a textual form, so the output should be parsed. As an example, the first result is simple. You just say action, semicolon, in the name of the action, in action input, semicolon, the parameter to the action. Clicking the second step, it is a tool invoking, so it's just a tool call, and it shows which tool was called, the extract audio, and the parameters. Now let's jump to the third interaction with the large language model. In the first, it told the agent to call the extract audio. In the second one, it told the agent to create the timeline. In the third one, it has the timeline extracted. And so you can see that the observation is indeed the complete timeline extracted by OpenAI Whisper. So what we are expecting is that the large language model tells us, hey, you need to call the third plugin, the summarization plugin, and the parameter is the full transcript. But here is the problem. The output of GPT 3.5 was not the expected one. It indeed understands the correct tool, the summarized timeline, but as parameter, it does not include the whole transcription taken from the prompt. It simply tells the full transcription from previous action. So if you are using the zero shot description, the React framework from a human perspective, the answer is perfectly valid because I can now take my plugin, I can now take the output of the second plugin and correctly make the call. But since the LangChain agent is only expecting the real parameter to be present in the action input, the result is not correct. And thanks to Langsmith, you can click the third interaction with the plugin in which it tells you that you are correctly calling the summarized timeline, but the input is full transcription from previous action. So the prompt you are sending to Azure OpenAI is a prompt that does not contain the transcription. And in fact, the answer is, as the data is not provided in the task, I'm unable to provide all the sections. And in the latest call to the large language model, the React framework provides the final answer. And the final answer is, I'm unable to provide the final answer. So from a point of view of interaction with the agent, everything went good. We have no exception, we have no error, but we must tell to the user, hey, the agent was unable to fulfill the request. And you can see from the left where you have all the traces enabled that after the Azure Chat OpenAI, after the agent, there is a single call to the LangChain. And this is the call that were made by the transcript plugin. So the transcript plugin itself, it's not a plugin that uses a local tool. It in turn call a large language model. So you can see that you have this single call, and indeed you can verify that this is the prompt I have included in the plugin, and the data is full transcript from previous action. So I can correctly determine that GPT 3.5 was not enabled to provide me the real solution, and it mistakenly extract the third parameter with this full transcription from previous action. Instead, I'm expecting, and the agent is expecting, the complete string of the parameter. Now I've selected another agent interaction, this time the one that uses GPT-4 as orchestrator for the agent. And now you can see that the input is basically the very same as before, but as output, you see that it correctly tells you that you need to call the summarized timeline, but the action input this time is the real correct input, all the transcription from the previous action. And another thing interesting in Langsmith is in every call you can find in the trace, you have the feedback where you can add feedback for this run, but there is metadata, and the metadata is very important because it allows you to understand what is happening. And this is especially true because in this time I can see that I have an Azure OpenAI chat and the model is GPT-4. And then I have all the stream temperature and other stuff, but basically it helps you understand what's going on. If I come back to the previous trace, I can indeed use the metadata pane just to verify that I was using indeed the GPT 3.5 Turbo, always in the Azure OpenAI chat. So probably this is one of the most interesting pane you can use, because in this panel you can find information on which are the detail used by the agent to interact with the large language model. And this concludes this video where I show you how useful Langsmith is to diagnose and troubleshoot your agent chain, because you can have this really super nice UI that show you every interaction of the agent with the large language model, all the interaction, all the parameter you set, and so you can clearly understand what went wrong.